He's in.
Yeah, but I've canceled mine.
I think mine's gonna be canceled too.
You know, because the 30th anniversary provides, we've already canceled that. There's gonna be too many people just aren't gonna have the money and stuff like that.
That's bad quality.
You know,
Yeah, really.
and I understand Yellowstone's still not gonna be open until September probably.
Put it on glass.
It's supposed to be on. You're the man of the show.
Yeah.
I need to move my portable tape.
Yeah, you might. You can sit up here. There's blue tape. Because that's where I sat right down. Dan rolled the blue tape and sent me a picture of
So I canceled my reservations. Yeah. In South Dakota.
So there's nobody in here.
I'm not gonna, you know, even if they have it, I'm not gonna go there with 200 or 300,000 people.
Yes, really. Yeah.
That's just us.
You know, I'm just not gonna.
Yeah, we're supposed to
How
be
do
in
you put it over there?
northern Idaho in middle of July.
You exited full screen.
I
So just
100% sure
magnify.
that tour groups can
I
cancel
was
it.
gonna say, just do the magnify not.
Plus, right now,
That's weird.
even if we wanted to, we can't get into Canada.
Got you, buddy.
Hi, Jamie. It's Emily Brandt. Can you hear me? Nope, you're on mute.
I'm just click on.
Hmm.
You just click on it.
Click on what?
Away from everybody else.
Mute them. Okay, they're all muted. Yeah. You're good.
City of Sutherlin Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. is now in session. Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item on the agenda is going to be approval of minutes. Or think of that, is there any media? Shouldn't be. But nope, no media.
Media online.
So all of you on Zoom, can you hear us?
Yes.
Or I guess when you, sorry, Mark? Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, just a moment. I'm muted.
I guess raise your hand if you could hear us. Okay, and if you're wanting to speak in, because I'm gonna keep you muted so we don't get the back feedback, raise your hand or do the chat and I will try to catch it all.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. First thing is approval of minutes for February 18th, 2020, regular meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call.
Commissioner Swanson,
Oh,
yes. Commissioner Davidson,
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson,
two.
Commissioner Price,
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier,
Aye.
Commissioner Sarnoski,
Aye.
and Chair Lee.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of findings of fact and a decision. For Ben Klappa, it was a request for a zone map change from light industrial to mixed use on a 13.07 acre property. Has everybody had a chance to review the facts and findings? Do I hear a motion?
I move to accept this request.
Second.
So Commissioner Robinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Price,
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier,
Aye.
Commissioner Sarnoski,
Aye.
Commissioner Swanson,
Aye.
Commissioner Davidson,
Aye.
Chair Lee.
Next item on the agenda is the Cooper Creek Estates LLC, which is requesting for a comprehensive plan map amendment from low density hillside to medium density. The zone map change from residential hillside to medium density residential together with land partition on a 1.31 acre property located on South Side Road and inside the city of Sutherlin. This is for a public hearing. I'm going to have to read a disclosure statement. All persons testifying shall be deemed parties to the application. First of all, I want to open the hearing. Right? Yep, I'm going to open the hearing. All persons testifying shall be deemed parties to the application and must provide their name and full mailing address if they wish to be notified of the decision, continuances, appeals, or other procedural actions required by the code. Public testimony should be limited to those criteria and findings of fact or to other city or state land use standards that the person testifying believes apply to the proposed land use action. Anyone wishing to be considered as a party in this matter must raise an issue in person or in writing with sufficient detail to the city zoning code, providing specific applicable criteria to be relied upon in making a decision. Those criteria and findings of fact are in the city staff report. Affording the hearing body and parties to the hearing an opportunity to respond to an issue precludes appeal to the city council or land use board or to seek damages in circuit court due to a condition of approval. Okay. So next thing I want to ask is if there's any declarations of conflict of interest, any site visits by planning commissioners,
Site visit.
site visit?
Can you state your name just so they can hear all that?
Norm Davidson made a site visit.
Any financial interest, any ex parte contacts, or personal bias in this matter? Are there any challenges to the planning commission members to impartiality in this matter? Hearing none. You want to identify those with party status?
So I'm going to identify the party status. First is Brian Elliott, Community Development Director. Micah Oritz with ODOT. Douglas and Amanda Burt, adjacent property owners. Dr. Sheila Strach and Matthew Strach, adjacent property owners. And then today we received a letter from the Housing Land Advocates and Fair Housing Council of Oregon.
And now I'll call for the staff report.
So I'll enter staff report exhibits 1 through 11 into the record, and also staff exhibit 12, which is the letter that was received this afternoon. So then I will enter the staff reports, which is the applicant, Cooper Creek Estates LLC, is requesting a comprehensive plan map amendment from low density hillside to medium density, a zone map change from residential hillside to medium density residential, together with a land partition on the 1.31 acre property. Subject property is located on South Side Road and inside the city limits. Subject property is described as tax lots 3400 and 3500 in section 21BA, township 25 south, range 5 west. And there are currently no structures on the property. During the public hearing, the Planning Commission will accept public testimony and make a decision on the application after the public hearing. As part of the hearing, the Planning Commission will review the applicant's request for compliance with the statewide planning goals and the general goals and policies of the Sutherlin Comprehensive Plan and the applicable criteria of the Sutherlin Development Code and adopt findings of fact. After the hearing, Planning Commission must make a written recommendation and forward it to the City Council in the form of findings of fact and decision document, which justifies the decision and recommendation. The applications were filed with the city on January 10th, 2020, and were deemed complete on January 27th, 2020. DLCD notice of proposed amendment was submitted electronically to the Department of Land Conservation Development on March 5th, 2020, which was at least 35 days prior to the first evidentiary public hearing. Pursuant to the Sutherlin Development Code, notice of the public hearing was given by a publication news review on April 7th, which was at least 14 days prior to the public hearing. And notice of public hearing of the applications were given in accordance with sections 4.2.150 D4 and 4.2.140 subsection C to the affected property owners within 100 feet, service providers, and governmental agencies on March 25th. I guess if all of you have read the staff report that was presented by the consultant for the plan and zone change portion, and also the portion added for the land partition. We want to address today the last exhibit 12 in there is from the Housing Authority Advocates And they stated to make sure to address goal 10. The consultant did address goal 10 in part of his staff report, but also we just want to reference that what they were wanting is adequate and affordable housing in Oregon, stating that the staff report contains no findings for statewide planning goal 10. But currently, the property is rural, a residential hillside. They're switching it or asking to switch it to a medium density residential, which would actually allow more housing if applicable. So this plan amendment zone change would allow for more affordable housing within the city and going to a higher density zone, which would then bring the housing need within Sutherlin to a more positive note instead of keeping it to a lesser density. So city staff. So decision based on the applicant's finding, the city staff report that was submitted, testimony and evidence provided during the public hearing. The planning commission can either move to 1, close the public hearing, and after deliberation on the matter, pass a motion to recommend to the city council approval of the requested comprehensive plan map, zoning map amendments, and land partition, subject to the following conditions. We did add, staff added that the plan amendment zone change, even though it's going away from the residential hillside, to keep that a geologic impact statement is required for all site development and development of the property. And then the necessary conditions for the land partition. 2, you could close the public hearing and after deliberating on the matter, pass a motion to recommend to the city council approval of the requested applications subject to modifications or additional conditions. 3, pass a motion to continue the public hearing to a specified date and time, or to close the public hearing and to leave the record open to a specified date and time for submittal of additional evidence and rebuttal. Or 4, close the public hearing and after deliberating on the matter, pass a motion to recommend denial of the requested comprehensive plan map, zoning map amendments, and land partition on the grounds that the proposal does not satisfy the applicable approval criteria. City staff recommends that the commission forward a recommendation for approval, option number 1, to the Sutherlin City Council of the requested comprehensive plan map amendment from low density hillside to medium density, zone map change from residential hillside to medium density residential, and land partition on the subject 1.31 acre property.
Thank you. Now I'll receive testimony from proponents. If there's a proponent that would like to provide testimony, please provide your full name and address.
Can you hear me now? Yes?
Yep.
My name is Mark Garrett. My address is 5. It says I'm
Mark?
muted. Yes,
Mark, we are unable to hear you.
I'm unmuted. Just a second. I'm showing that I'm. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we hear you now.
Okay, sorry. My name is Mark Garrett. My address is 12975 Tiller Trail Highway in Days Creek, Oregon. I'm a land use consultant and I am representing the interests of the applicant. We have reviewed the staff report and the supplemental information provided by staff. We concur with their assessment of the request, both in terms of the plan amendment and zone change and the land partition. There's a couple of things I would like to speak to as it relates to the responses by the housing authorities as well as the adjacent neighbors. I was a little bit confused by the response from the housing folks as it related to the housing needs because the property is already planned and zoned for residential development. Our proposal is actually to intensify the density allowed under the current comprehensive plan and to then subsequently develop multiple or at least duplex units on the property, which will provide additional housing opportunities for those who are in the rental market there in the Sutherlin area. So it would seem that their concern perhaps might be misplaced. But as staff pointed out, the proposal will provide some relief for the rental market and for those who are needing housing. So I think that they've done a good job at addressing that issue. As far as the neighbors are concerned, there were some things mentioned. Number one was the issue of traffic. The traffic generation by this is minimal on Southside Road, which is a collector street. The street currently is a very low volume street in terms of 80 average daily trips. And I believe that we're totally with goal 12 as it relates to transportation. Also, in terms of the impacts on the neighborhoods that responded, if you note figure 1 in the application, which I think probably was incorporated into the staff report, there's significant topographical change from the property adjacent to Southside Road to the subdivision there to the south, where these single-family residences are located. A significant elevation change. Really, those properties are isolated from this site by elevation and topography, and in fact, they used an alternative access to get to their lots. So the natural topography creates isolation along with the foliage and natural vegetation there as far as screening is concerned. And I'm not. I think that there is justification for this conversion as it relates to that. And as I say, they're in a kind of a different setting because of their topographical elevation above these above the proposed units on these lots. Also, they talked about property values, and as I'm sure you're aware, property value is not a criteria or criterion for making a decision for plan amendments and zone changes. That it simply doesn't apply. However, again, even if it were a criterion, this property is sufficiently isolated from that community to avoid any, I would think, negative impacts on values on that. We have not historically found that these kinds of developments in the past have had negative impact on single family housing, and they offered no substantive information that would indicate otherwise. So I think that probably is not applicable in this case. And just a moment. As far as the geotechnical issue, one of the things I would hope as I'm speaking that we could have IE Engineering speak to the geotechnical report in terms of the stability of the site to accommodate this this proposed change and subsequent development as it relates to the slopes along the south portion of this property, as it relates to those who were expressing concern about the geotechnical aspects of this. And we have representatives from IE Engineering on here, Eric Ranger, and also his partner Emily. So I'm not sure which of them would like to speak to this, but Jamie, if you could let them speak, that would be great.
Okay, Eric is going to speak.
All right.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
All right. My name is Eric Ranger. I am an engineer with IE Engineering, address 809 Southeast Pine Street in Roseburg. Excuse me. Just want to address the slope concerns of the neighbors. The Galley Group did perform a geotechnical report, and that was submitted. And Bill Galley is a very respected geotechnical engineer. He's worked in this area a lot, very familiar with our soils and conditions. And his report very clearly states that this type of development. He doesn't see any problem with this type of development. The soil conditions are common and there's no extreme concerns. As far as the grading goes, there will need to be some grading to make these sites buildable. And if you've been out there, they're going to be difficult sites. There's a lot of constraints on them, so they will be difficult. The actual cuts that would take place on the property would range 4 to 8 feet, probably, not giant slopes. Couple reasons: just it's not economically feasible to cut a very tall slope for very tall retaining walls for this type of development. And also with the existing slope of the property, you know, when you construct a retaining wall, you can't just make a vertical cut and then build your wall. You have to slope the ground back so it doesn't fail. And so that with the way this property is already steep, you just don't have enough room to make a very tall cut and still catch and be able to build a very tall retaining wall. So any grading work on the site, Bill Galley, his recommendation is that they would be on site, and that would be our recommendation also. There's no existing actual building that we have now for the site, so an actual grading plan hasn't been completed, but it's all dependent on what kind of buildings that they determine that they can actually fit on the site and we can make work with the layout. So with Bill Galley's recommendations, and as long as those recommendations are followed, I don't see the slope being any issue out there. That's what I got.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that probably at this point is adequate in terms of our initial comments relative to the staff report and the responses by the neighbors and the housing authorities. And so we probably would request the opportunity to do a rebuttal if there is anybody that wants to speak in opposition to the request, unless we've already addressed those issues. So unless you have any questions, I believe I am done at this moment.
Does any commission have any questions for, or where are we at on the?
I'm just kind of curious about the retaining wall, what type of footing and how deep. I'm just curious.
Yeah, so without knowing how tall exactly the wall is going to be needed, there's no there's no design for it yet. That would be, it would have to be engineered. The taller the wall, the bigger the footing is required, of course. There's quite a lot of surcharge with that steep slope behind it. There's a lot of surcharge load on the wall, so it'll have to be something pretty significant, but there's no design for that yet. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
If the property is going to be that steep, is there going to be on-site parking?
If you will, excuse me, go ahead, Eric.
Go ahead, Mark.
If you have the plan that we submitted for the land partition, it shows the parking areas relative to the units. And the other thing is that the city has specific standards for parking required. And so if for whatever reason they weren't able to meet the parking, then the development wouldn't be able to take place. But they've demonstrated based on this preliminary design that they can fit the units in there along with parking along the frontage there. And perhaps if Emily's available, she might be able to speak to that a little bit. I think she worked on the design for the unit layouts and for the parking.
Hello,
Anybody else
Emily.
Have any questions?
I'm wondering how much are they
Oh,
cutting
sorry.
in the slope at all
So the slope, they
for the
won't,
house?
they won't know until they have the design for the house is what the engineer was saying. So until they do a proposal with the galley group, the geotech they have, they won't know where exactly that cut will be.
The plan that they're showing here, what you're showing is figure 1, which I think is
Yeah.
what you're looking at also. For unit 4 and unit 6, those back corners are right up against the setback line, which is 10 feet from the property line. And if my measurements are correct on the topo lines that we have on there, you're gonna have about a 20-foot retaining wall at the back edge of that house.
So, yeah, I think with the layout that's shown, it is definitely conceptual because, as I said, the owner, potential developer, has been working with a builder trying to find a footprint of a building that can work. So, I think, yeah, if that layout is definitely conceptual, but it's not going to be it won't be ultimately how those units are laid out. I would not see because of that. I think, like I said, with how steep your driveway can be, you can only get so high in elevation. Then, as I said, once you get over an 8-foot tall wall, not only the cost, can double per square foot of wall. So 8 feet is what we would anticipate, would be the kind of highest, tallest feasible cut that would make any project here economically feasible. So yeah, I think that unit, the conceptual site plan kind of shows we can fit something inside of the setbacks. Can we, we haven't gone through the whole process of the full design. So is this the final exact size of the buildings? I'd say no. It's going to have to be something creative for those properties.
Well, the other thing, if I might interject too, is that the conceptual site plan that we've offered shows that the units can be put on the property, meeting the setbacks, meeting the parking requirements and access needs. And as far as the walls are concerned and any cuts and so forth that will take place, all of that will be done in coordination with the galley group, who have said that this can be done in a safe and appropriate fashion, as long as they're involved in that process to superintend that along with the work by IE Engineering. So this is simply to give you a visual of what it could look like. But even if there's some adjustments or amendments, they still would fit within the box of the setbacks, because that's required in order to do the development. So even though those boxes might narrow a little bit, and in order to implement the plan that they come up with, they still will meet all the required development standards of the zone. And the final design is generally not done until the applicant knows that the requested plan amendment zone change are approved along with the subdivision. And then any applications for the dwellings would be reviewed by staff to assure compliance with the zoning regulations and the design standards to assure that the geotechnical report recommendations are followed. So I think that should hopefully address your concerns. We'll be glad to try and answer any other questions you might have about that, if you have specific questions that we haven't spoken to.
I think Emily wants to speak.
She's still muted.
Like you. Okay, Emily, I think you could talk now.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So this is Emily Brand. I'm with IE Engineering. 809 Southeast Pine Street in Roseburg. I created the preliminary site design. It's very preliminary. I just wanted to add that the reason we show kind of the biggest pad possible is so that when the galley group did their initial analysis, that they analyze as much of the site as possible, just to take into consideration the maximum that could possibly occur. So I'll just echo that what Mark and Eric said was true. It would probably be a much smaller, more creative footprint for the building, something that wouldn't go back that far into the site. We just wanted Galley Group to consider as much of the site as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other proponents to the applicant? To the application? Hearing none, move on to hearing any testimony by opponents. Hearing none, or receive any neutral comments? Hearing none,
Oh, wait,
I'll receive
hold on.
rebuttal to the applicant. Oh,
Who, the phone number 212-6078. Do you wish to speak?
Yes, this is Matt Stroud at 805 Valley Vista. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, I do have a question in regards to, so we're saying that we might be dropping down like the footprints of the buildings because it's not exactly what we have. My understanding is that those buildings are currently like the minimum that we would need for square footage. Would that be affecting any of that?
So I guess, if Emily, do you want to answer the question?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Minimum square footage for what?
For the dwellings themselves. My understanding was that those were like the bare minimum, because based off those numbers, they're pretty small homes on there. Not for like the lot itself, but the actual home. If we were to go smaller on that, then would we actually be meeting the bare requirements for that?
I don't think there's a minimum square footage for the individual dwelling units. It's the number of units per square footage of the individual lots. I don't know if Emily could speak to that as far as the anticipated square footage of the duplex units or not.
Can I interject really quick, Emily?
Sure.
And Mark, so this Jamie, city staff. So the minimum for the R2 is 1,000 square feet. So
For
just
the
so you
homes?
know that, yeah. So the home will need to be at least a minimum of 1,000 square feet.
Okay. Emily, can you speak to that?
Well, can I?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Emily.
Oh, I was just going to say, we showed what it could look like if they were a single story unit, again, just to kind of maximize the site space that Galley Group analyzed. So it's completely conceptual. It would meet all minimum requirements for the zone as it's to be designed.
Well, the other thing too is I'm sorry that I was mistaken about the square footage of the home, but in any case, if the plan amendment and zone change were approved and the partition were approved, and then they were unable to meet the square footage of the home requirement in the ordinance, then the development would fail on its face. But I'm sure that they're going to come up with a design that will at least meet that 1,000 square foot minimum.
Yeah, I think, well, so as the developer, they don't want to pay us too much money up front when there's risk of not even getting approval for these zone changes. So if they know they can, it's kind of a catch-22 which way they want to go, but they feel that they just want to have this option is their best option. And as Mark said, there's developments all the time that once we start getting down to it that fall apart and can't meet another standard. So.
Well, in this case too, as far as sorry, go ahead if Matt wants to speak.
No, I just didn't know if this was answering his question.
Yeah, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Currently, there's no rebuttal, so we'll continue or close the hearing. We'll close the hearing.
Wait. Where's Emily?
Wait.
Hold on. Why is Emily? Emily, are you trying to talk? Emily?
He's still mute.
No, I'm trying to
Okay.
stay muted.
Sorry, the hand was just up there still. Okay. Okay, sorry. No, sorry.
Okay,
First
public
time.
hearing is now closed. We'll have commission discussion.
I still have reservations regarding the setbacks and the retaining walls are going to have to be required to back into those couple houses because the footings are going to be back into the setbacks. How far are they going to be back in there? Because to get the footings in, they're going to have to cut the hillside back further.
They won't know until
That's correct.
we get the okay here to go into the city council. They're gonna be the final deal there too.
So when they do, if this does go through, or even as the property stands today, they could build a single family dwelling. So the first thing when they supply their site drawing to city staff, it has to meet setbacks. So if it doesn't, we can't approve it. So even those footings, we do now an inspection 24 hours before they pour. We do a site inspection to verify they're meeting setbacks.
But the footing itself is not within the setback.
Of the dwelling, yes. Are we talking two different things?
Two different things.
Or-
You have a retaining wall vertical, and over 8 foot tall, generally the footing is like an L and goes back into the hillside. So the hillside is sitting on top of the footing back here. So if that retaining wall is at the setback line, this footing is way back into the setback, which means before that, they've got to dig out this whole other part of the hill over here, where before it can fill back in.
So Norm's referring to the footing on the stem wall, retaining wall. I think you're referring to
Oh, gotcha.
the foundation.
Right, and the way this particular one is done, it may have to be all in one.
Okay, but now if those two lots there, if they could not put that on there because of the footing, they could still put a single there.
Yeah, and you could build a fence or a retaining wall within the setback area.
Right, but and they put a single there and still have the multiple on the west of it.
And they are too.
Yes, and that's why Emily stated that the drawing is conceptual, so the galley group went to the maximum by how I took what she said.
And there could be a bunch of different.
Because again, these designs haven't been finalized or
Right.
engineered, they will be. So right now, we're at the land use portion that makes sure that all the evidence are provided to the statewide planning goals and the zoning code in order to allow them to proceed with those next phase of drawings and engineering levels.
And as Emily stated, Bill Galley, they went in and did worst case scenario as far as, it's on that conceptual.
I just want to bring all that up, so it's all up front.
I'd still be more concerned with parking. You make that turn, that first house there on south side, just because it's paved doesn't mean it's functional.
And those look like fire department turnaround spots, which means you can't park in them.
What? So they don't have to have fire turnout on the property because the driveway is not longer than 150 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, fine.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I clarify like that. Emily, are you raising your hand?
I did, but it's, I think you guys got it figured out.
Okay.
No further discussion. You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve planning department file number 20-S202 and refer to the city council. Number one.
Thank you.
Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Swanson?
Commissioner.
Yes.
Commissioner
Davidson?
Yes.
No desk. I'm sorry. I'm a mess.
Didn't hear you.
Yes, no?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Price? Commissioner Frazier?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarnowski?
Yes.
Chair Lee?
Aye. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Are you guys, we moved you above the TSP so you don't have to hang around.
But you're welcome to.
Thank you for that. I guess we'll duck out.
All right.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you have a great evening.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda is a legislative hearing for the transportation system plan, master plan. Request for amendment to the Sutherlin comprehensive plan and amendment to the Sutherlin development code. I will first open the hearing. And the hearing is now open, and I'll read a disclosure statement. Once the public hearing has been opened, all persons wishing to testify will be asked to come to the microphone, which will be up on the screen, and state their name and address. Those in favor will be offered a time to speak first, followed by anyone wishing to speak in opposition. The commission will also hear anyone wishing to share neutral comments. Keep your responses to 3 minutes for your comments. Call for the staff report.
Okay, so we've been working on this for, I don't know, a year and a half or so now. Commissioner Price has been willing and able to participate on the task force that was created in order to work with the consultants and ODOT and city staff. So as part of this process to get us to tonight's hearing, we did give notice to the LCD, 35 days, at least 35 days, which happened to be February 11th because we were going to hear this in March. And so it was at least 35 days to tonight's hearing. We noticed in the news review, not once, but twice, the 14-day notice prior to tonight's meeting for the notice of public hearing, as well as sent notice out to all the public agencies. We've received 2 responses, one from Tom Guevara, who was the planner for ODOT that worked with us on this matter, providing ODOT support in the document that has been created. We also received a comment on not the first notice, but the second one from the Department of State Land, the Aquatic Resource Planner, pretty much stating that if there's any work that's going on around local wetlands inventory, that we need to keep in mind the goal boundary for the statewide planning goals. So with that, I could put you to sleep and read about those statewide planning goals, or has everyone had an opportunity to review the documents that were included in your packet? Would you like me to go through everything with you?
No.
Take a paragraph.
It was hard enough.
So just so we can cover our public hearing portion. So, well, it took a little bit of work because it was, I'd say, the last PAC meeting that we had that we realized that, so the consultants created these lists of financially constrained, tier 1 and tier 2. So the financially constrained were kind of the city's top priority projects. And then tier 2 would be the next level, and tier 3 is more aspirational. So those big dreams, the ones we need for the connectivity, or the ones that we need to make things as we grow flow more fluently. But obviously we don't have the money for them. So what we ended up doing, because they broke out the pedestrian, the streets, the bike and ped, and we all discussed and we said, well, you're not gonna put a bike lane on a road that doesn't even have, it's got dirt on the side of the asphalt. So until the street's improved, you're not gonna have the bike lanes. You're not gonna just put a random sidewalk in when the street's not improved or it's not wide enough. So with that, it took us till the end to realize that we could go back in and put what we call policy statements in this document that identify that through the city's annual budget phases, we will be able to identify ongoing improvement projects. So after the central project, and this is just one of the examples, but like taking the sidewalk from Beecroft to the eastern city limits. That's a budgeted item that we're working towards as an infill project, but it's also captured in this document. So we can, not only does it have, it's not specifically identified that we can only do it as part of the transportation system plan, but it can be done as infill projects based on the city's budget. A lot of the financially constrained projects, we try to restrict them, not necessarily restrict them, but do the all-inclusive streets, the ones that needed those bike ped and transportation improvements. So utilizing Wait Street. It is going to a lot of recreational development. It goes to a lot of housing development. It's within 1,000 miles of schools. So we're utilizing the Safe Routes to School grant. There's good possibilities of getting everything moved forward. So that's one of those projects that will take from multiple pots of money, but being listed in our TSP gives us a higher grant opportunity and allows you to move forward with those grant applications. So those were what the focus was on the financially constrained, is ones that we felt the need for today, as well as the ones that we felt we could financially achieve without, gazillion dollars. So if you guys had looked at any of those, if you had any concerns, we went through them time and time again as we kind of tried to evaluate, and that was the most usable document. We don't want this to just sit on the shelf. We want to be able to utilize it. We currently use the one we have today every day, regularly. All these land use applications, we use it to help guide us, and that's what this document ultimately will do for the next 20 years. So, in a nutshell, I can tell you more if you want more. I provided the maps that were utilized in this document just so you have them. Lays out each of the individual figures that were done in the document. This will then, based on recommendations, if you approve, go to the city council for their approval, be adopted, and then the consultants will provide us the new transportation system plan.
Now that I'm getting to the public comment part of the hearing, there was a copy available for public to cut in and see, right?
Correct. Things got a little mucky, but we held open houses to the public as well. We had a good turnout on, one of them was kind of just a no-show. The second one, we had everybody coming out of woodwork. So we had a really good show for the second house. And it's all been on the city's website. We've met all the outreach for the citizen involvement portion of the statewide system.
There was a lot of questions in the open houses.
Yeah, and as sitting on the committee, do you have anything to add?
No, I think everything really went good. We had a lot of time put into it, especially you gals, and then the engineers and the guys from ODOT is just fantastic in giving information. So everything that's in here is put a lot of heart into it. And, like I said, open houses, one was kind of a so-so, next one,
Okay, I'm going to ask for testimony for anyone in favor of the proposed policy. Hearing none.
There's nobody there.
Do you have anybody?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none. Any testimony in opposition to the policy? Hearing none. Any neutral comments? Hearing none. Guess I'll close the hearing. Okay, commission discussion. Great job.
So at this stage, if there's a motion to make that recommendation to city council, we will proceed with that. We have findings of fact that specifically state what is in your staff report is the proposed findings with the recommendation to council, if that's what you so choose. So based on, depending what your motion is tonight, is whether we will put these before you in just a moment, and we'll take it to council in May.
I'm glad to see something being done, you know, because I think we've made some mistakes in the past. I tried to, when Long was here, the South Side Road, take it straight through. But they says there's no transportation plan, so they didn't do it. You know, and I tried to get them to do a bridge over the railroad tracks. And they wouldn't do that. Well, we didn't have a plan, so they didn't do it. So we can get a plan, but we need to be able to deviate a little bit if it's somebody comes up with some brighter ideas. You know, because things change. I like your plan on 4th Street and 6th Street where you went. Originally it was there up on 6th Street. So,
and we broke 6th Street down, 6th Avenue down into 2 phases, so then it's a little bit more not only financially feasible, but feasible as a project as well.
It's a feasible project.
Yeah. But one thing I should note too is the IAMP, the inner area management plan, that is ODOT's pretty much control of the intersection, the exit 136. So that has not changed. So that was adopted in 2009, and that is implemented into this transportation plan. As a result of this transportation plan, they did not feel that an amendment to that was necessary at this time. So we will proceed with that until further notice. It could be updated in the future.
Any further discussion? Any motion?
I make a motion to send this to the planning, to the city council with option number 1 for recommendations.
Commissioner Robinson,
And they,
Commissioner Price,
Yay.
Commissioner Frazier, Commissioner Sarnoski,
Aye.
Commissioner Swanson,
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Chair Lee.
So it's out of our norm, but just because we were delayed last month, I went ahead and drafted these. If you just wanted to take a look at the beginning and the end, the rest of it is what you read in your staff report.
Okay. Everybody had a chance to review the monthly activity report?
Well, do you want to vote on the findings?
Oh, okay.
We're kind of doing a new thing.
We're pushing it along, so if you
Okay.
agree with the findings, this will just save them from coming back.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna vote on the nature of the application, the facts and findings, findings of fact and decision for the transfer TSP master plan. Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to accept the plan laid out for.
I'll second
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Price?
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarnoski?
Aye.
Commissioner Swanson?
Aye.
Commissioner Davidson?
Aye.
Chair Lee?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll move on to what I was planning.
You folks did a lot of work on this. I read all of each one. Compliment you for doing a good job. Looks good.
Monthly activity report, everybody had a chance. Any questions? You guys are busy. Any public comment?
Fly it over there.
Okay. Commissioner comments. Around the room. First on this.
I think having the ability to do Zoom during meetings, if we happen to be absent or sick at home, gives us the opportunity to actually partake in the meetings. So I think it's a good idea, if and when we get back to normal, having it available.
Yeah, it is a good tool. I mean, yeah, like if you're on a trip for,
Same thing with you.
yeah, trip for a month or two.
Yeah.
But when I was working in Oakland, one of the planning commissioners was in Hawaii. And he would be out on the beach as we're doing the meeting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
And I usually take my tablet with me, so.
Well, and you could just use your phone too.
Reminds me of the commercials, you know, where the guy's got the suit on, and he stands up accidentally, and he's in his shorts. So, reminds me to be careful of that kind of thing.
Well, one of the comments that I wanted to say was City of Sutherlin has a lot of plans. We were talking about plans a little bit ago. And I really appreciate it. You guys put a lot into having plans, Brian, Gary, all your predecessors. Yeah, because I've been unfortunate to be in cities that had no plans. So I can appreciate what it's like. It's like gold.
Yeah.
And thanks for all your hard work.
Really thank you for the planning. Probably up you guys put in the planning. That was a lot.
Christie was the lead on that.
Yeah.
Need some down.
I'll be
in
glad when
paper.
it's over. I might find a different one.
I still got all the stuff at home.
I still got one.
Yeah,
of
it's
those.
sort through when it's
Yeah.
over.
I just keep looking through, you know, instead of having to go through the computer, all I had to do was bring it up again on the file.
Any word on the clinic down by Dakota Pizza? Are they gonna start
Evergreen?
some?
So I had heard that they were, their reader board inside their existing facility had indicated that they were going to open in they were gonna start construction in 2020. I don't know if that's changed since the virus has taken place, so it's soon, near future.
If we could get it going, that sure changed some.
Color? No. Well, if there's no other comments, meeting is adjourned.
Can I get this one? on the findings?
Yes.